the psychology of taking a football penalty kick. What goes through your mind when you're about to take a penalty kick? Whether you're an amateur, a semi-pro or a professional, or play at the very highest level, what do you see, hear and feel just as you're about to take a penalty kick? From the moment you place the ball on the penalty spot, you walk backwards and then you make your way towards the ball to strike the ball, to attempt to score. What goes through your mind? What do you see, what do you hear and what do you feel? Let's just look at some basic fundamentals. If we look at a goal is approximately 7.32 meters in width, about 2.44 meters in height, and the proximity of the penalty spot to the goal line is about 11 meters, 12 yards. Now we think that a goalkeeper, let's say the range in height of a goalkeeper is about 180 centimeters to 195, and the arm span of a keeper is probably near enough similar to that, maybe 180 centimeters to 190, give or take. You would like to think that the chances of scoring a penalty from the penalty spot would be fairly high, considering that studies have shown, there's been a study at Aristotle University in Greece where I believe they monitored a number of people striking a ball, and they came to the conclusion that on average a youth player strikes the ball at about 14.9 meters per second and a professional player strikes about 30 meters per second. Obviously there's a differential in that, but let's run with those figures give or take. So that gives the keeper about a second to a third of a second in time frame to react in the right direction to save the penalty. So you'd like to think if you chose your spot and you stroked the ball as well as you could do, your chances of scoring would be high. There's also another study. One of the key aspects of taking a penalty is being in the right state at the right time. Think about it. Think about the outcome of taking a penalty. You put the ball down and the main outcome is to score a goal. With that goal comes other expectations and other outcomes. Possibly win the game, take the lead, pressure, what we place on ourselves, expectation of the fans, family, friends, colleagues, fellow professionals, fear and possible nerves. Think about it. In a big game where a player stands up to take a penalty, there could be 80,000 people watching. Amongst those 80,000 there's fans and people who want the player to miss, maybe millions in terms of TV audiences, and everything else that goes with taking that penalty. A chance to write yourself in history books, helping the team win a major tournament. All those things potentially are going through the mind of the penalty taker at some point. Yet the key is for the penalty taker to have the level of confidence and focus to be able to strike the... If you focus on the outcome, it can be very overwhelming. So whilst we have an outcome in mind, we focus too heavily on the outcome of scoring that goal, then the expectation and the extra pressure we put on ourselves will make it difficult, or more difficult no doubt, to actually score the goal, because we then forget about the process of scoring, the technique and the skill we need to execute the goal. And you hear sometimes commentators say on TV that there's no way you can recreate the reality of taking a penalty kick in a real live game. Yet we can do mental rehearsal, and it has been said that the mind can't tell if it's a real experience or one that's not real. So through doing mental rehearsal, there has been studies that have shown that we can get close as possible to the reality situations. Yet, that said and done, there is some truth. We can't recreate things entirely. Yet what we can with the mind, which is very powerful, is we can help the mind to focus on the process. So putting the outcome to one side and focusing on the process, the technique the skill, and letting the subconscious mind take over to stay in the best possible chance. Yes, some of the commentators are right in saying we can't recreate the situation completely, but what we can do is take control of our mind, which is key. So rather than focusing too much on the actual outcome, focus more on the process. And the process being the technical elements of executing that skill, where we place the ball on the floor, we move into position, and we move forward into the ball and strike the ball as skillfully as possible to give ourselves the best chance to score that penalty. And yes, of course, there will be times when the keeper may be more experienced or more technically competent than the person striking the ball, and they may save it. Or it may be that at the very highest level of a professional game, coaches study other players. So it might be they've done their homework on the player and they see the player's tendency to strike in a specific area. So all these things are true and correct and will minimise the chances of the player scoring a penalty. Yet all that said and done, the key fundamental is, going back to what we said before, think of the width of the goal, the height of the goal, the keeper and the proximity of the goal, penalty kick to the goal line, and think about the execution of the strike. Now, you could safely say in a training ground, most professional players would score probably 99 times out of 100 in practice, because all those outcomes aren't relevant at the time. Yet put them in a very pressured situation where they're focusing on the outcomes, and we've seen some of the best and most technically gifted performers actually miss the entire goal. Think about how hard it would be for a professional player at the very highest level to actually miss a goal 7 meters plus wide and 2.5 meters high. Think about what must be going through their mind to actually miss the target completely. And that is key. Can we take what goes through their mind when they're on a training ground onto the football pitch? Well, we can't take that exactly, but what we can do, we can take that mental process across. And by taking that mental process across with a series of psychological NLP strategies, we can stand the best possible chance to score the kick. Now, NLP is a broad range of skills, techniques and strategies that can help a performer perform at their best. Yet I've selected two that I've used with my performers to help them score a higher ratio of penalty kicks and set pieces, and one is some about what goes through your mind when you're taking the penalty, what you see, hear and feel. No doubt there'll be a series of images that go through your mind when you're taking that penalty. Depending on those images and the quality of those images and how they support your outcome is going to influence the ability you have to convert the penalty. Let's say, for example, some modalities are as follows. Like one performer I was working with, he actually saw the keeper a lot bigger than what he was. In his mind's eye, when he thought of a penalty, he thought and saw the keeper much more taller and a much bigger arm span than what he actually had. And he saw the goals a lot narrower and a lot smaller. Yet, all I said to begin with is see the situation for what it is. So we did some submodality work to actually imagine shrinking the keeper and keeping the goals to their normal width and height, and thinking purely on that process and seeing himself like he was watching a TV screen by doing mental rehearsal, actually watching himself strike the ball till he could vividly imagine doing it in the here and now. He could just imagine himself putting the ball on the ground by closing his eyes, running into the ball and striking it and hitting the back of the net. And with that hitting of the back of the net, we do what we call an anchor or a cue. And one of the things I got him to do is to anchor the mindset he needed to be in to have the best chance to score a set piece or a penalty. But also, I got him to anchor hitting the back of the net. You know that feeling when you strike and hit the back of the net? That crisp feeling when you strike the ball and you hit the back of the net and you get that sensation of scoring a goal. I got him to hit the back of the net, and when he hit the back of the net, I could press an anchor or a cue. And his cue was thumb and finger. Every time he hit the back of the net, to press thumb and finger, so there's a neurological connection to hitting the back of the net, thumb and finger. So when he went in to take a penalty, he had his cue to get himself in the zone or set piece, where he would tap his foot on the floor, and that would be a neurological connection to being relaxed and in that zone of confidence. and focus purely on the process of execution of scoring. Then having done that, his next anchor was pressing his thumb and finger to get a feeling for hitting the back of the neck. Then we'll strike the ball and aim to achieve a positive outcome, which was scoring, which was key. So these are two techniques or two processes that I'd like to share to enhance our chances of scoring a penalty or free kick or improving our sports performance in general. Yeah, we've just briefly covered these two areas for now.